Coming up next, we introduce for the first time on The Beat Goes On, smartphone app designer Gordon Duncan. Gordon is a baby boomer, is right up with the play when it comes to smartphones and other devices that most of us baby boomers look at with blank incomprehension. But not tonight. Gordon!
Hi.
Duncan!
Hello,
welcome
Jared.
to The Beat Goes On.
Thank you.
Wonderful to have you in the studio. You're a baby boomer, and we'll talk
That's right.
about the date of your birth soon, but you're one of those baby boomers that know all about these smartphones and
I'm
newfangled devices.
Yeah.
Us, befuddled baby boomers, what's going on out there? But you're so good at it that you actually write applications for smartphones.
I can't confess to saying I've written any application.
Yeah.
I've employed somebody to do an app, create an app.
But you're in that world, which
In
is
that
totally
world.
confusing to the average baby boomer.
That's right, and scary.
But you've done something quite marvellous, haven't you? I think this new application that you've written, or not you haven't written, but you've you've created and brought into the world is a fabulous idea, isn't it? But look, before we talk about it, let's talk about your baby boomerhood.
Mm-hmm.
Year of birth, it was
1947. It's a good year, eh? I think we're kindred spirits, is that right?
You
That's
were
great.
born in what month?
September.
September. I was born in July.
Yes,
So, beat you.
I look up to you.
It was a running race, and I got there first.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So, whereabouts were you born, Gordon?
Invercargill.
Invercargill.
Yes, deep
Ooh.
south. I'm a Southlander.
The intelligence and the brains and the talent that's come out of Invercargill.
Yeah.
Mr. Munro, for instance.
Yes,
What
yes.
was it?
Bert.
The world's fastest Indian?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, amazing people have come from.
Well, if you were born there in 1947, you might have even known Bert Munro.
No,
you didn't?
no.
But
I
you
didn't
know the
him.
street he lived in?
No, I actually left there when I was about 8 months old and went to China. My parents took me to China as a baby, so I actually learnt to speak Mandarin before I spoke English. But I can't speak it now, which is a real shame.
But you can understand it?
No.
What?
I have a Chinese name, Deng Xiansheng, but that's and we've been back to China quite a few times.
Yeah. But you should be able to pick it up easily, shouldn't you? You know,
I should,
yeah.
but I'm the exception to the rule, I think.
Okay, now why did your mum and dad take you to China?
They were missionaries in China, and they went back into China with 3 preschoolers into a country that was on the verge of civil war. And they'd been there earlier, and so they went back, and we lived through the communist takeover, so we lived through that period, and we were living in a city called Yichuan, which is in Shaanxi province, inland, about 1,000 kilometres inland from Shanghai. And we were back there early last year. It's a city now of 5 million people, and we went back and connected with people that had known my parents back then.
Now, your mum and dad were so enthused about Christianity that they would go on this, dangerous mission to
and
take their 3 kids with them.
That's right.
So they had this incredible faith. Have you retained that faith, or
I have.
You have?
Yes, it is important to me.
Yeah. Why would your mum and dad go to China to preach Christianity when communism was on its way in?
Yeah.
And the communism, of course, they're totally against all religion, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it seemed like a futile quest, didn't it?
Yeah. I think a whole variety of reasons, but basically they felt that their Christian faith was important. It had transformed their lives.
Even
and
against these enormous odds that China was turning communist and everyone would be told to have no belief in God. And your mum and dad said, don't worry about that.
The amazing thing, I think, is that when they left, there was, for quite a period of time, persecution, as you know, for Christians in China. Now, even in Jiangxi province, which has 44 million people, there's over 1 million Christians just in that one province. And so Christianity as a faith has taken hold very strongly.
It took hold. Fascinating.
Yeah, it is a fascinating story.
Yeah, you got back to Auckland or you got back to New Zealand?
Got back to New Zealand. Yeah. We lived in the deep south. We went to Queenstown for a year and then lived in Gore for a number of years and then Wellington and subsequently Auckland. So.
Now, as the biggest baby boomer test you'll ever have, Rolling Stones or the Beatles?
Beatles.
Good choice, Gordon. Now, let's get on to the app. It's for a smartphone, which us baby boomers, You know, we've all got a smartphone now, but we only use about 5% of it, don't we? Well, you know.
It opens up huge potential, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like our VCR recorders in the past, you know, we only used about 5% of them.
Yes.
But you've gone deeper. Absolutely informed a company, and you've got young guys, of course, to write applications. But first of all, you have to have an idea. I mean, there's a million applications out there.
Right.
And so you have to think, what on earth could I do that was different from all the other applications in the world? Did you copy an overseas one, or is this an original idea?
It's an original idea.
Well, now that in itself, that's 10 out of 10, isn't it? Yeah.
So,
and it could go worldwide, couldn't it?
So in 5 years or so ago, I was chairman of the board of Greenpeace for New Zealand.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, did some travelling with them on a voluntary basis, but travelled with them to international meetings of the chairs of other countries. My wife came with me on those trips, and we enjoyed using Lonely Planet to look around, read up about areas. Yeah. But when we were there, we felt like with the smartphone technology, we should be able to actually take stories that had happened where this was. Lenin entering the
Red Square or something.
To start the revolution, catching a tram in there. How could you capture that? And so people, when they're standing there, could say, well, must have been what it was like with these shops that were here, all that sort of thing happening. So we thought, how about we could use technology to use video or animated stories
for tourists,
for people, tourists and also locals.
Yeah, and locals
to understand their history and culture. So we came back to New Zealand, and I thought, New Zealand has a unique culture in that it's got the bicultural relationship with Māori. We could present to the world a really good story about about discovery, really, how to discover the world, built around the brand of how Māori discovered New Zealand and overcame incredible odds to do so.
So let's say you were in Rangariri, for instance, just down the road from Auckland.
Yeah.
There was a major battle there.
There was.
And you can see the little signs that said this is where the battle took place. Could you stand there with your... And it's all run by the satellites, of course, isn't it? You stand there and say... And the phone knows where you're standing, and you just press this app, and it'll tell you the story about that area, about Rangariri?
Does.
Say if that was one of the examples.
It is. Rangariri is on there. There's a roadside story that's on there that tells the story of Rangariri.
Wow.
And it's located right there, and the battle. So... At the moment, we've got 650 clips in English. We've got a Chinese version of the app with about 250 clips on. We've got underway a whole project to see that number hugely increased by getting a lot more local content, local stories, people telling the unique stories that are there for people to discover.
This is fantastic, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing.
So what do you call the app?
Discover NZ Tourism.
Discover NZ Tourism. Now, is it free, this app, or do you pay for it?
It's free. You don't have to pay a cent.
Wow.
Yeah.
So somebody must have funded you. Are we allowed to know? Or?
Yeah, my wife and I funded it.
Wow.
And the major reason behind that is that ultimately, because we wanted to be about skilled employment, most angel investors want to get a lot more money out more quickly than we saw. This is a bit of a slow burn. And so we wanted to take the time to do it properly and not be pushed by some investor who's wanting big returns out of it. Yeah.
What could it grow to? What's its potential?
It could be thousands. I mean, basically every town in New Zealand needs to tell its story.
Yeah.
And there are huge stories going back that are fascinating stories.
Okay, every town. So let's say I came to the town called Telbury, which is south of Huntly on the way down. So I've got my app, up comes my app, and it already knows where I am.
Absolutely.
And then it tells me about Telbury, when it was first settled and all that.
Yeah, that's ultimately what it'll be doing. I'm not sure whether Telbury's on there at the moment.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say. And then it might be able to say there's a place called Candyland where you can, as a tourist resort, you can go across and...
Yes, so at the moment we've got, for example, 28 of New Zealand's major tourism operators who have backed us by coming onto the app, and so over 250 tourism products you can book into off the app already, and that is growing, and we will continue to use that as a way in which we commercialise it as well.
What I'm always interested in is one night this idea would have popped into your mind. Can you remember the night it was or the day it was, and you went, Eureka, this is a great idea?
Yeah.
And who did you tell first?
Who did I tell first? I told my wife, and she said, I think it's a great idea, Gordon. I've had a few other ideas. And she said, I think you need to test it out. And that's why we went through the Ice House, which is a business incubator here in Auckland. And she came with me as we were part of that to validate the idea and ensure that we weren't just going down a blind alley or wasting a lot of money.
So when you have a great idea and you tell somebody like your wife, you get this passion.
Yes.
It's like an energy that you just can't believe, and you haven't stopped since then, I suppose, have you?
No, it's been an ongoing passion and excitement, and my wife would say it's exciting / scary, and I think that's a very good way to describe it. Yeah.
And now, how long have you been working on it now?
About 4 years.
4 years.
Yes. So we made a mistake.
Now, did the grey hair appear just after 4 years ago? Or
I'm surprised all my hair hasn't actually fallen out. You must have had a few worries in your own life.
Well, look, marvellous achievement. I mean,
thank you.
I've often thought, when they tell me about apps and the fact that there's thousands of them out there, and some you can buy for $3.48 and some are free. Gosh, there can't be any ideas left. There's that many thousands of apps out there. And
well, we have got competitors, but nobody's doing the video streaming,
as well
storytelling.
As you're doing it,
Well, that's the uniqueness of ours. That it's that geo-located.
That's the point of difference.
It is our point of difference.
So the point of difference is it doesn't matter where you're standing, the closest tourist attraction will come up on your phone. And
also the closest story.
The closest story.
That's right.
Wow.
You can actually also choose to go nationally and see. So if I'm going to be visiting Queenstown, I can choose Queenstown on the app, and it'll bring it up for that. But so those sort of options are there on the use of the app as well.
Gordon, we've got to finish, but I did hear you mention that you were head of Greenpeace in New Zealand.
I wasn't head, I was chairman of the board.
Chairman of the board, well, that's pretty high up.
all the great work is done by the staff and that sort of an organisation. So.
How did you get to be, I know I shouldn't be asking this because we're going off on another ring, but to get to be chairman of the board of Greenpeace, that's...
Part of my Christian faith is about also saying we are here to be stewards of the earth, and that actually we've raped and pillaged it, really. And so I think an organisation like that does a great job in highlighting the importance of being good stewards. And so I became involved as a supporter. I was asked to stand for the board, got elected to the board, and then elected as chairman, and that's how it really happened.
Wow, that's a great honour, isn't it?
It was a great honour.
Were you anywhere near the Rainbow Warrior when it...
No,
bang.
No, but I have been on the later version of the Rainbow Warrior, travelled on that, and no, it's a great organisation and does a marvellous job, and the people involved are passionate and very smart about what they do.
You've had an exciting life, haven't you?
I have, and still have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, still.
It's not over.
And you're well, we're getting near that time, aren't we? We're both 68, and our thoughts turn to if there is another life when it all finishes, but you're thoroughly convinced that there is. There's just no doubt that there will be a place that you go to when you die. I'm
convinced of that. But I'm also convinced about making a difference here now for people that God cares for everybody, not just some. He cares for everybody, and that's what I'm really...
Did you ever follow your father's footsteps and try and be a preacher or a minister?
I was for a while.
Yeah,
yes,
you were?
Yes, I was for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was an important part of my life as well. But now I've been in executive recruiting for about 20 years now, and enjoy that aspect of things too, working with very good clients and interesting people. So, yeah.
Look, you can't go without telling our viewers how to download the app. So we digressed everywhere. We've gone around the universe, but what do they have to do?
There's several ways in which you can do it. You can go to our website, which is www.discovernztourism.com, and it takes you then to make choices about Google or Apple, because it's on both platforms. Or you can go to the Apple store if you've got an Apple phone, or the Android store, and just put in search on Discover NZ Tourism, and it'll come up, and you can download it for free. It just says install now. You press the install button. It's all there, and you can use it.
Wow,
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
the age we live in.
Gordon, we've run out of time, but fascinating. I hope to have you back one day.
Oh, I'd love to come back.
And
thank
talk
you.
about it.
Thank you very much, Jared, for having us on the show, and we really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gordon.
Okay. Bye-bye.